This microchip can take up to 26 weeks to make. In its as many as 100 layers, billions of transistors are packed into an area about the size of a fingernail. They're the brains behind almost everything we use in our increasingly electronic world. Here's how these complex, tiny devices are made. The process begins with silicon-rich sand. Why silicon? Silicon is a semiconductor. It's the sweet spot between an insulator and a pure conductor. That means its properties such as its conductivity can be altered by adding impurities or doping to meet the needs of different electronic devices. This also allows us to control the electrical signals that pass through. Silicon is also abundant. It's one of the 10 most common elements found on Earth. But much of the silicon found in the wild is chemically bound to oxygen, so the two elements must be separated. The sand is combined with carbon and melted in crucibles to produce carbon monoxide and 99% pure silicon. After further processing, ultra-pure silicon is produced. Next, a seed crystal is placed in contact with molten silicon. As the seed crystal is slowly pulled away, silicon atoms are deposited on the bottom surface. The result is a large cylindrical boule, or a single crystal ingot of pure silicon. The boule is then thinly sliced into wafers. Silicon wafers typically have diameters of 1 to 12 inches, with the most state-of-the-art facilities being able to produce wafers up to 18 inches in diameter. Bigger wafers are, of course, able to yield more microchips. Once the silicon wafers are cut, the production process begins in full. Microchips are made in extremely sterile conditions, free from contaminants such as dust. If even just one particle of dust makes its way onto a silicon wafer, the entire batch is at risk of being ruined. This would derail a process that can take an average of 12 weeks. The first step of the production process is deposition. A thin, non-conducting layer of silicon dioxide is grown or deposited on the surface of the wafer. Then the silicon wafer is prepared for lithography by coating it with photosensitive and light-resistant materials. The next step is very critical: exposure. The prepared silicon wafers enter a lithography machine and are exposed to UV light passed through a reticle containing the chip's blueprint. The areas exposed to light are hardened, while unexposed areas are then etched away by hot gases to leave a three-dimensional microchip. The electrical conductivity of different parts of the chip can also be altered by doping them with chemicals under heat and pressure. This process can be repeated hundreds of times for the same chip, producing a more complex integrated circuit at each step. To create conducting paths between the components, a thin layer of metal, such as aluminum, is overlaid onto the chip, and the etching process is used to remove everything except the thin conducting pathways. Several layers of conductors separated by glass insulators can be laid down. Each chip on the wafer is then tested for performance before it's separated from other chips on the wafer by a saw. Since microchips are essentially circuits built on an incredibly small scale, they have a basic set of components. Capacitors can temporarily store an electrical charge. Resistors help control the electrical current. Transistors can either amplify or switch the electrical signals passing through.
Hey, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to say call halal, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kodash. I'm saying double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I'm saying much peace, love, and salutations to Yakim out there pushing the word sincerity and truth. This is Brother Ariella. Yeah, man, as you can see, man, the device that's going to be used for the MOTB, this charagma, is a very, very tediously, meticulously created, tangible instrument that's used to basically coordinate and control most of what we understand nowadays. And for it to be integrated even within our bodies is a part of like something being graven, something being created by man for control, for him thinking that he's, further ahead, so to speak, But you best believe, this thing, this MOTB is tangible. It's something that is going to be used to control people, to write down and be able to understand transactions and everything like that. So that's all I wanted to highlight on this lesson today. When you go to the book of Ezekiel, the 28th chapter, I'm going to read it in the NLT. In the second verse, it says, Son of man, give the prince of Tyre this message from the sovereign Lord. In your great pride, you claim, I am God. I am a God. I sit on a divine throne in the heart of the sea, but you are only a man and not a God, though you boast that you are a God. You regard yourself as wiser than Daniel, and you think no secret is hidden from you. With your wisdom and understanding, you have amassed great wealth, gold and silver for your treasures. Yes, your wisdom has made you very rich, and your riches have made you very proud. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says, because you think you are as wise as a God, I will now bring against you a foreign army, the terror of nations. They will draw their swords against your marvelous wisdom and defile your splendor. And this MOTB system that they want to implement, that we read about in the book of Revelation, when you go to Revelation 13 and 16, all right, it says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their forehead, or in their right hand, or in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. That mark is going to be a tangible mark. And that's why when you look this thing up, and when you understand this device that's created, this device that's being graven, this graven image here, all right, that he wants to put in your hand or on your forehead, man. He believes he's wiser than Daniel. He believes that he's going to be able to control, track, trace, manipulate everything. Now, when you read in the book of Ezekiel, the 28th chapter, it's centered around traffic and basically controlling the seas and controlling merchandise and everything like that. Buying and selling, he sits in the heart of the sea. He's at the heart of everything that's buying and selling. When you understand how that all worked and how integral it was to be able to record transactions, even in the ancient world, you see that being in the center of that position is vital. Now, I'm not going to read this whole article here, but you brothers that are watching this can Google this. It says a brief history of ledgers. A brief history of ledgers. Before starting my investigation into distributed ledgers, I did some research on the history of ledgers. What I found really put blockchain in perspective for me. Okay, it says you'd be forgiven for. I'm gonna skip that part. Talking about blockchain, Bitcoin, whatever. It says. I'll skip down. It says, in the context of history, blockchain is simply a new way to create ledgers. This is why I think it will have a lasting impact. In this article, I present 3 examples where new ledger technologies drastically change society and try to show why blockchain might do the same. It says pictographic tablets back in 3200 BC. It says over 5,000 years ago, the ancient Mesopotamians started to record quantities on clay tablets. They partitioned the tablet into rows and columns. Within each cell, they drew a picture of the type of item and made holes indicating the quantity of it. Each type of item had its own standard pictographic representation, making this ledger language the earliest form of human writing we've discovered. It's called proto-cuneiform, because it later evolved into a complete written language called cuneiform. In other words, the ancients invented Excel before Word. So basically, this is how they was able to record transactions and trade. And if you're at the centerpiece of that and you can control all of that, you control the known world at the time. So when you look in the areas around Mesopotamia, you look at these ancient pictures, this is how people were able to communicate. Buying and selling and controlling buying and selling and being at the center of buying and selling was always at a centerpiece of rulership. And basically Esau's technology, his chip technology that he wants to implant to everybody, is a part of trying to have that power. Is a part of accumulating all information, knowing where everything goes. But just as you can see in this picture, It is something tangible. It is something that you carve into. And so that's why when you go into Revelation and you click on that word mark, it's the same word for graven. All right? It's the same word for cutting into something, okay? So we always go into this word charagma, right? And it says a stamp, an imprinted mark of the mark stamped on the forehead of the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist, the mark branded upon horses, thing carved, sculpture, graven work of idolatrous images. And we have these precepts that you can read, here in Acts in 17:27. It says that they should seek the Lord if haply they might feel after him and find him, though he be not far from every one of us, for in him we live and move and have our being, as certain also of your own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. For as much then as we are the offspring of the Most High, we ought not to think that the Godhead is like unto gold or silver or stone graven by art and man's device. And this is exactly another form of creating an idol, man, when they want to do this MOTB. Because as you can see as you watch the video, it's a very meticulously graven device that Esau has being manufactured out in the world. Okay. So it's a very meticulously thing that's being etched and graven, but they want to etch it, engrave it, and put it into you specifically. They want to brand you with these devices. They want to brand you and bring you into their digital godhead, bring you into what they have under control fully. They want to encapsulate you by uploading you into their digital world, which is a tangible physical thing. Okay? It's not just simply sin or political and religious sin. No, they're uploading you into a system. And the only way you're going to be able to move about, operate, buy and sell is to have this thing branded inside of you. And that's always been the way of the heathen. Okay? Now it's even higher technology, man. Because those ancient customs, they used to carve into themselves. All right? They used to carve into themselves, and now they want to carve this into you. Okay? Psalms 115:1, it says, not unto us, O Lord, not unto us, but unto thy name give glory, for thy mercy and for thy truth's sake. Wherefore should the heathen say, where is now their God? But our God is in the heavens, and he have done whatsoever he have pleased. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. They have eyes, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. Noses, but noses have they, but they smell not. They have hands, but they handle not. Feet have they, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat. Okay? They that make them are like unto them. So is everyone that trusteth in them. Okay? And so, they've all, back in the ancient world, that, they would carve these different images into stone or gold or silver in the rock or whatever and worship these images. Well, they want you to come into their full digital image and upload that into you. And they want to do that physically, tangibly. Okay? And it's always been centered around their ability to control. This is just an upgraded way to have you on their digital ledger in one form or another. And all the ledger is to be able to track and trace all manner of merchandise. And you are going to become Esau's full merchandise underneath his full helm, part of his traffic, if you take that MOTB, point blank period. That's what they want. That's what they're doing. Okay? Okay? Now, if you read on in this, he in this article that I pulled up, which it's on Medium.com, a brief history of ledgers. He goes into more of the systems of ledger writing and how different merchants would use it and how it formed language and did all types of stuff in societies. Okay, leading all the way up to what we have now, which is the newest thing, which is blockchain. Okay. Now, I'll read this first part. It says, around 700 years ago, a new method of accounting emerged amongst the merchants and moneylenders of northern Italy. This new ledger technology gave its entries a logical relationship. Every item must be entered twice, once as a credit and once as a debit. And everybody that you guys that have bank accounts, you see this stuff, right? It says, according to some scholars, its spread led to what we now call capitalism. The Marxist economist Werner Schomburg was one of the first to make the connection. The very concept of capital is derived from this way of looking at things. One can say that capital as a category did not exist before double entry bookkeeping. It's easy to see why he thought this double entry is essentially an algorithm that organizes the transactions of a business according to the following equation: assets equals liabilities plus capital. Okay? Where capital measures the equity of the business owners, rearranging the equation, we get capital equals liabilities, assets minus liabilities. Okay? And we all have to do that to see how much capital you have. You go and look at your assets minus your liabilities. And most of us ain't got three nickels to rub together after it's all said and done. Okay? So skipping down, let's see. And he goes and gives a very detailed, he's going through it. And that's why I don't read it. I'll skip down again. It talks about fiat bank, central banking and fiat ledger entries as money, right? 1931, we always talk about that. Prior to the invention of fiat money, ledger entries always measured a quantity of something tangible owned or owed. A liability on the ledger was someone else's asset because it represented a quantity of something that the debtor had to transfer to the creditor in the future. So how could you make a ledger asset valuable unless it's redeemable for something valuable? The answer lies in the fundamental idea of economic value. Things can be valuable for two reasons. They are a means of obtaining an economic good, something desirable to an individual. They are a means to avoiding an economic bad, something undesirable to an individual. Redeeming ledger entries in gold gives them value because of the former reason. All right? And so basically you see the evolution of how we look at things. I want to skip down because I don't want to belabor this point too much. Let's see. Oh man. He goes in on like central banks and basically how ledgers have evolved over time to what we see today, and understanding why they're important in keeping up with things. And when we look at the MOTB and we look at the capabilities of quantum computing, them being able to put a chip in you that it can digitally read everything, keep everything up to date, like what we're going to see now is FedNow is going to do, what FedNow is going to do is basically allow them to do transactions in real time. So it's another gradual step for them showing the power of what they can do. Right now you have what you get a check, you gotta wait for the check to get cash. You know, with the Fed now, they're gonna be able to close out transactions real time. There ain't gonna be no waiting. Okay? But what happens when you need to make a ledger of that real time everywhere? That's when you incorporate blockchain technology. All right? When it gets down to like the individual people. Okay? And they're just slow rolling this stuff, man. Slow rolling this stuff. But the only way they're going to be able to keep it up with you is by having it on you or in you. They're going to want it in you. And that's where these microchips come into play. But the way Esau moves, he softens people up. That's why you got Israelite groups that are like, nah, he wouldn't go that far. When he been going that far ever since he been in power. He been going that far. He ain't never held back. Okay? It's just true. All right?
When Elias Brotberger goes to work, He doesn't need ID. And he doesn't need money. In fact, much of what he needs to get through the day is hidden right there, just below the surface, in his hand.
You like to touch it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, weird. Yeah, it's like a grain of rice.
Yeah, a grain of rice.
Embedded in his hand is a microchip that serves as his keys, his ID, and his wallet.
Yeah, it's all in chip, so I use it like to get around the building.
Buy snacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's buy some snacks.
Exactly.
So I can't open it.
No.
Okay.
So what I need to do is I need to first blip my chip, and it will log me in, and from there I get access to the fridge.
Popular TV shows like Black Mirror have imagined chips as part of a dystopian future.
Install ingrain procedure with local anesthetic and you're good to go.
In Sweden, the microchips are already here.
The microchip implants use the same technology that's in contactless credit cards.
Which have made cash pretty much obsolete in Sweden.
No cash.
At this tech fair, a chipping event for those on the cutting edge, merging their hands with this new technology.
I thought it would be fun, right?
The process is simple and swift. A pinch of the skin, and in a matter of seconds, the chip is inserted. The transformation is complete. As for the pain,
I barely felt it.
but even in this nation of early adopters, not everyone is racing to get chipped.
Feel less human. I will feel like a robot.
I think, so much more data can go into this, when it's in your body.
There's no central registry tracking how many people are chipped, but biohacker Hannes Wellblood estimates between 5 and 10,000.
In the future, do you think everyone is going to be chipped?
I think it'll be voluntary, but I am certainly convinced that millions of people will find it very, very valuable to have a smart device under their skin.
Human microchipping may be our future, but in Sweden, it's already reality. Sarah Harmon.
Yeah, pretty much. And, and they slow rolling this stuff, and it's coming. It's here. And so to deny the fact that, when we see Esau doing everything carnally, and then we get to this part in the book of Revelation 13, 14, 15, 20, 19, and now it's not. It's just, no, man. They're going to want to put the technology in you so they can track, trace, control, and keep the party rolling, so to speak, for themselves, man. It's going to be a tangible, graven device. That's what this mark is. That's why the word is charagma. That's why it's likened unto a graven image. It's a graven image that they're going to want to put in you, man. Okay? So with that, man, I say, call halal, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors once again to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to Yakim out there pushing the word in sincerity and truth. And once again, like this article, you can go and read it. It's too long for me to read. I wasn't going to read all that. A brief history of ledgers kind of give you a better understanding of blockchain and its usage in buying and selling, and where its part in buying and selling and what it comes into. Okay? All right, shalom.